What is up, everybody? I'm going to set my, I don't know why I have monitoring on. It's kind of annoying. Um, Give me 1 second where I set things up and we'll be good to go. Test, test. Hopefully, I don't have audio issues again here. Let me test and make sure this is working.
I don't care what one thinks about me.
All right. I'm totally unprofessional, but give me a second. All right. Looks like we're golden. Let's go ahead and jump in and watch these Amber Heard interviews. I'll be stopping it periodically just to give my 2 cents here. Let's go ahead and get started. This is day one. This was a couple of days ago, but I was never able to do a reaction to it. So I've seen both of them, but we're gonna go through and kind of hit on some points here. Here we go.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors. I don't presume the average person should know those.
All right, hold on. Let me turn off these captions. Okay, there we go. First of all, let's start off. A lot of people picked up on this, but she says she doesn't care about what the public and what other people think about her. I find this quite alarming considering how she's the one that wrote the op-ed. She's the one that decided to make this public whenever Johnny was trying to convince her not to do that. But she couldn't stay out of the spotlight. She couldn't stay out of the camera's eyes and the public eye because she's a public figure. And this is what she wanted from the start. Don't let this cloud your mind. She's very good at gaslighting and controlling people's minds, and she's very manipulative, like a lot of people I know are. But she takes it to the extreme, and we'll see this in the interview. So let's just go ahead and keep on going here.
Things, and so I don't take it personally, but even somebody who is sure I'm deserving of all this hate and vitriol, even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me.
I can tell you that. I really can. Another stop, and I'm sorry for stopping, but another instance of where she is still trying to blame everyone else that was involved in this besides herself and her actions. Pushing blame onto everyone else is something I've witnessed from other people I've known in the past, where just no matter how much evidence, sorry about that, no matter how much evidence you have to prove that that person is being untruthful, who is clearly has issues, they will fight to the end of their last breath to try and prove that they are not the bad person that you think they are. Public perception for narcissists and for self-serving individuals is extremely powerful. And that's what this woman is trying to, this person is trying to portray. They're trying to say, everybody else, no matter how much evidence you have against me, is wrong. I'm right. So remember that going through these interviews. And let's go ahead and continue listening on here.
Me that you think that this has been fair.
Of course, we also touched on what happened in court and what the jury decided. There's no polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony, and they did not believe you. They thought you were lying.
Yep.
How could, I'll put it this way, how could they make a judgment?
You see there, she's I keep taking off my headphones when I'm talking because I can't stand hearing my voice in my head that when I'm talking, because there's some latency to it. So if you see me doing that when I stop to talk about certain parts, that's why. This woman, whenever she's hit with a hard question, you see all these mannerisms and these face movements and these, feeling such despair and such hurt and all this. That's all an act. But at the same time, it's giving her a break in between the questions to think up an answer that's appropriate. And you can tell by the exaggeration of the facial movements, the just total denial that anyone is telling the truth but her. All right, so let's continue on.
And how could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of nonstop, relentless testimony
That proved Johnny
from
was in the
paid
right
employees.
and you were wrong.
And towards the end of the trial, randos, as I say.
So you don't blame the jury?
I don't blame them. It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character and people feel they know him.
There you go. Okay, so someone else made this comment and it is so on point. Let's listen to that one more time. Let's go back a little bit and listen to that again.
And people feel they know him. He's a fantastic, and people feel they know him. I actually understand he's a beloved character. And I don't blame them. It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character.
You see here how she's going back on, because she had made a point that the jury, that the people surrounding the jury, that the experts, the witnesses, all that were wrong. And that they believed Johnny Depp's lies and they were wrong for doing that. And now here she's kind of toning it back a little bit. Now she's saying, I don't blame them. He's a great actor. So you see, now she's trying to pull back some of those hostile comments, probably because her PR team and her lawyers were saying, you need to not mention that the jurors are idiots. That's a bad look. All right, so, yep, let's continue on. I thought that was interesting.
Character. And people feel they know him. He's a fantastic actor.
Their job is to not be dazzled by that. Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe
Boom.
your testimony or your evidence.
There was none.
Again, how could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony about how I was a non-credible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth?
We're going to have more.
How can... What? How can they sit there after listening to 3 to 3.5 weeks worth of information saying that she's not trustworthy? How can they come to that conclusion? You just answered your own question, Amber. They sat there and listened to 3 to 3.5 weeks of testimony, and they decided that you're lying, that you are not trustworthy, that you made all this shit up. And if you didn't make it all up, which I'm guessing is probably the situation here, there was probably some stuff that really happened that was, let's face it, less than great on the part of Johnny Depp. But you spun those lies into greater lies, into more exaggerated lies, and you kept building them to the point to where they were malicious, and you had every intention of breaking this man, just like a lot of females do these days. And I'm not trying to sound, the M word, but I'm saying it happens, and it happens all the time. And it's probably happened to just about every man in their lifetime, at least once. And it's really infuriating to think that women exist like this. Now, can men exist like this? Oh, absolutely. There's men out there that do this too. But categorically, it falls on a lot of, more often than not, the genders. Just like it's more likely for a man to be involved in serial killing, right? Like serial killers, most of them are men. These school shooters, all these things are more tied to men. It's just, and I agree with that. I don't disagree. This whole thing about crying out for the whole I was a victim thing, it is mainly on the side of women. A lot of, and now men are starting to say, you know what? We're victims of this too. And I think it's good for JD to come out and stand up against, she's talking about standing up against power. She had nothing. She had no power to stand up against. Women have 100% favoritism in the courtroom and in government. And you can't tell me that that's wrong. So if anyone was standing up against power and throwing their voice to try and get people to believe them, it was Johnny Depp. So, and a lot of people who are narcissistic and just don't want to let go and don't want to admit when they're wrong will do this. They will cling to, oh, I'm holier than thou. I'm going against so much to try and get, you're not, no. You have favoritism, 100% going into this. But the fact that you lied over and over and over and over again, what do you expect the jurors to decide on. So let's continue on. Looks like this just has a little bit longer. I believe this is about the end of day 1, and we'll go into day 2.
Of our exclusive interview with Amber Heard, first on today, tomorrow, and Wednesday morning. It's a wide-ranging sit-down, and then we'll have the conversation on a special Dateline this Friday night, hour-long, 8/7 Central.
Looking forward to that.
All right, there we go.
Hey, thanks for.
There's the end of day 1. All right, which one? Let's go day 2. All right, here we go. Is this the right one? No. Let's go USA Today. Sorry, I have to find it. Don't blame the jury. Is that the right one? Or is that the one we just listened to? Yeah, I don't know which one it is. Shit. Let's see.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors. I don't presume the average person should know those things, and so I don't take it personally. But even somebody who is sure I'm deserving of...
That's the same one. I apologize. I'm trying to find...
It's been about more than a week since the verdict.
All right, let's see here.
As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in?
How could it? Surreal and difficult, in part, yes. This has been a long time coming.
Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course. To my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
There you go. Just like I was saying earlier, individuals like this, even though they've been proven wrong, proven that they're lying time and time again, they will always hold on to their belief that they are innocent. There you go. I believe that has some ties to her histrionic issues, but we'll continue.
Real-life drama of the defamation case between Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp captivated millions of people around the world.
Amber Heard just got exposed.
Johnny, you hit me.
This is so cringe.
With clips spreading across social media like wildfire.
I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok. And the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying, "Burn the witch," "Death to
And who's to blame
Amber."
for that?
After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal, energized.
Can you put into words how that felt?
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through.
These weren't, in my opinion, we'll back up again here in a minute. In my opinion, these weren't just Captain Jack Sparrow fans. I know not for me. I know a lot of people who love those movies, who love Johnny Depp for those movies. I grew up in the 80s, hon. I grew up when there was one of his first movies I ever saw him in. I didn't know who he was in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Then he was in Edward Scissorhands, and then Fear and Loathing, and Sleepy Hollow, and the Barber movie, Sweeney Todd. He's been in a ton of movies. That's true. I've never been a huge Johnny Depp fan. I've never been a huge movie fan of his. I mean, I understand that he's a good actor, but that has no play in my involvement, in my view of this case. And that's what she's trying to play on. She's trying to play on the fans of Johnny Depp. You know what I'm a fan of? Justice. I'm a fan of individuals who lie to take advantage of others, finally meeting justice and being brought to that justice. Do I feel like the verdict they came up with was justice? Not really. Because if you look at this, if it was a man in Amber Heard's shoes right now, do you think they would have let her get away with the things that she's gotten away with? Do you think that man would not be brought back to court and charged with perjury? He absolutely would have. Has that happened? No. Will it happen? I doubt it. Why? Because look at her. Look at her face right here. She's a beautiful woman. She's got a newborn child, well, a couple-year-old daughter, right? A baby, a toddler. And I'm sure that was somewhat planned as well. The courts and public do not want to send a mother, especially a new mother, to prison or to jail because it looks bad, right? It's not fair. She's got to take care of her family. She just wants to move on. You know, all of these things is what's keeping this woman out of prison for perjury. She lied. Now, some of those lies may have included some truth. They were both extremely in a relationship that was extremely toxic, that had a lot of bad things going on in that relationship that never should have occurred. But they did. And the man of the relationship wanted to keep this under wraps. He said, you know, let's not get, I keep hitting my mic stand, let's not get the courts and social media and the public involved in this. He tried to get all of this out. He tried to just say, you know what? Okay, look, I'll pay you money. You know, I'll give you $8 million. Let's just keep this out of the public eye. Let's just go our separate ways. You go your way, I'll go mine, and we'll go on to do our own thing. Then she decides to go and write an op-ed on all this. That brings it into the public eye. He had no choice. She had tried to ruin him. This is what a lot of women do whenever you break up with them or you divorce them, and they didn't want that to happen. Whenever she was used to getting everything she wanted and treated the way she was being treated and bought the things that everything she ever dreamed of and ever wanted. And then all of a sudden he says, I don't want you anymore. This is too much to handle. This is horrible. This is toxic. I want out. And as soon as he did that and he walked away is when she decided to go revengeful. And I can be attest to this. It happens. As soon as you tell a woman that is obsessed with you or that wants you back or wants to work on things with you and you tell them no, they go into a very vengeful state. And that is what is happening right here. So I know from experience that happens. Soon as you tell them you're not interested anymore and you want to move on and you want nothing to do with them, they go to lengths to try and destroy your life. Not all women. Not all women. I'm just saying in my personal experience, it's happened. And this is exactly what's happening to JD. That's why I stand beside JD in this. That's why listening to all of the evidence, I feel like he is completely a victim. She's trying to play the victim when she is the perpetrator. All right. Well, sorry. I had to go on that tangent. Let's go ahead and keep listening here.
I have never felt more removed from my own humanity.
You don't act like a human.
I felt less than human.
Let's go back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
Hello. Welcome to the stream.
That's a great question. I wish I could say yes to that. I want to say yes to you,
There's that lip
but
movement again.
it wouldn't be true. Even if you
Thank you for coming into the stream.
that I'm lying,
If you come in,
you
feel
still
free to
couldn't
chat.
tell me,
If you
look
haven't
me in the
left
eye and tell
already,
me that you
thank
think
you.
on social media there's been a fair representation.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Yes, he
After the
has.
6-week trial, the jury found Heard defamed Depp in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she wrote she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never mentioned her ex-husband by name. Depp denied the abuse allegations in court. Heard won just one of 3 claims in her countersuit against her ex-husband.
I don't know why she won that one.
That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge
Did he?
ruled against Depp in a similar case in the UK, in which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife beater.
There was another trial, handled it dealt with the same substantive issues that had even more evidence in. In fact, my
Here we go again.
evidence was largely kept.
Once again, this devil of a woman is going to sit here and she's going to start bringing up a case, the one in the UK. It had nothing to do. She was not involved in providing evidence in that case. Okay? Let's get that straight. Let's get that clear. The only thing she did is she came and testified that she was not responsible for that op-ed. I believe, if I can get my story straight here, I believe that she went to trial and she said that everything she published was true, blah, blah, blah. So then the UK courts are different. There was no jury. There was only one judge. There was only certain people, and it was a lawsuit, Johnny against the Sun, the one that published that article, the company that published it. So he lost that case because he couldn't prove that the Sun had published that knowing that she was lying to them. Okay? There was no proof that she had lied about what had occurred. That's a completely different case. But they keep bringing it up because they want people to see the guilty verdict or the not, or whatever the verdict was, not guilty on Depp, right? That the Sun was not guilty. So she considers that not guilty versus the Sun as her not being guilty. No. There's nothing to do with that. But she keeps bringing that up. Her law team keeps bringing it up. When is the UK or Australia going to move forward and press charges against this awful human being? When is that going to happen? How many times do you have to kick a snake before it bites you? How many times? I'm sorry. I'm just a little angry about this because it seems like our country is supposed to uphold rulings of the court. We're supposed to believe in justice will prevail in all of this. And then you have individuals like this. Is it possible that that they can turn around and say that she was, I think the best outcome for this is either everyone stops covering her case. No one pay her for interviews. No one pay her for book deals. No one pay her for movie deals. No one even acknowledge her existence, which would drive her insane even more so. Or you charge her with perjury and you put her in prison. That's the only outcome for this. You decide. All right.
Kept out really important pieces of evidence, kept out. Done differently, handled differently by a judge instead of a jury.
Some evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court.
Boom.
Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
That's another thing. Look at this. This is another thing I noticed. She just said, Savannah just said that the public are kind of pissed off about this whole situation because they think both of them are bad people, that they really don't support either one of them. And she's shaking her head and she's saying yes. This is the woman that just sat here and said that the reason she lost the case is because everyone was behind Johnny Depp. By just saying yes and she agrees, she has just lied again. She has went back on what she considered her truth and contradicted her answers. All right, let's continue on.
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person
Absolutely.
for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that.
It's not.
This is this is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First
I like
Amendment
this.
protects free speech. It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that was the issue in the case.
Yes, exactly. You can't go into the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater
Like
and
you.
you scream fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks.
Let that
My
sink in.
understanding of what that means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
But truth is the word.
Once again, like I just freaking said, she's playing victim again. She's trying to convince people that she spoke up against power, the power of Johnny Depp. Really? You had all the support in the world coming into this case, coming into this trial. I know for me, whenever I heard that Johnny Depp had lost that case in the UK, my first thing was, uh-oh. Obviously, there was something brought up or something shown that maybe Johnny was the bad person in all this. And a lot of people thought that coming in. And then the court case started, and we heard all the evidence, and we said, whoa. this is vastly seen in the long light. I was worried that Amber may win just because females are victims. They're always the ones that are victimized, and everyone should believe every time a woman comes up and says something. Women lie too. Trust me, I know. And just a simple idea that she's going against power. Johnny was the one that was behind the 8 ball. He was the one that was speaking up against power, because men have never sat in a jury or in a courtroom and said, I was abused by that woman, and have won. So you want to talk about talking against power? The whole world was against Johnny Depp when he first stepped into that courtroom. Don't twist it, lady. All right. Let's continue on.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime, and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
First of all, that has absolutely nothing to do with the outcome. You convinced the world that you were a fish woman in Aquaman. That's a little bit more fantastical than Johnny Depp doing a movie decades ago where he had scissors for hands, not just fingers, scissors for hands. And that was an acting job. Do you not know what acting? Well, she clearly knows what acting is. Not in the good sense of the word either. I just find it hilarious how she's sitting here talking about, says the lawyers of an individual who tried to convince the world that he has scissors for fingers. He didn't try to convince people of that. That was the movie. His character in that movie actually did have scissors for fingers, or scissors for hands. So he wasn't trying to convince anyone of that. That was just part of the character, retard. Watch the video. Watch the movie. Sorry for using the language I did. But it's ridiculous to even have that comment. Did you see the long pause? First of all, the pause at the beginning when she was getting ready to say it, like, should I say this? And then, so she was told to say this, but I think she said it wrong. And then the pause, because Savannah's sitting here going, huh? The hell are you talking? Is she on meth at this point? Is she high on cocaine? We saw her snorting when she was on the stand, hiding it in a tissue and stuff like that. You know, she clearly is not of in the right state of mind. And to be honest with you, I'm extremely sad for the child. This child is innocent. This child has nothing to do with it. I pray to God, look, the individual that is the actual father of this child, please either try to be really involved in making sure this child is brought up correctly, or getting custody of that child and making sure she has supervised visitations with her, because she is clinically insane. There has to be, and I have a lot of sympathy usually for individuals who suffer with mental health, because I know how hard it can be. But she clearly should not be doing interviews. She clearly should not be 100% making decisions for a child and their well-being. There's no telling at what point she's just going to jump off the edge, or she's just going to completely go insane, which I think that's almost apparent now. But that's my worry right now. My worry is for that child. How is she going to grow up and have a normal life with a mother that can't even admit to her own lies? This is the problem with today for people, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat and a lot of kickback about this, but that's the problem with the generations that came after us, is a lot of hand holding and a lot of to make it, you got to fake it. You got to lie sometimes. You got to, kick dirt on people that may have been okay to you, but you got to do it to step above them and to rise above and to take advantage of the situation to better your status in your life. And that is absolutely horrible. But that's how things have gotten because of stuff like this, because of having parents and individuals that have these mindsets. All right, let's finish it up, guys. Let's finish it up, and then we'll go with the closing here.
I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress. So
You see how much that bothers her?
I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
The Depp team argued that you were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes in which you acknowledge hitting. There are tapes in which you say,
Yep.
I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do, with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp,
Yep,
I,
tell
a
the
man, am a victim of domestic violence.
20-second clips
Sickening.
or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpt.
Bullshit. Another lie. Another freaking lie. The jurors were given uncut, unedited, full-length audio recordings. All of the evidence they were given was unedited, was uncut. I believe that tape was like 3 to 5 hours or something like that of audio. They listened, well, were supposed to have listened to the whole thing. But yet here she is on live TV telling everyone that they only heard snippets and edited and cut audio. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the face of evil. And, you know, I say that very lightly because I'm sure, you know, who knows? This YouTube video may be taken down by YouTube. I don't think so, because I only have 100 followers. No one's going to watch this shit. No one's coming into the stream. No one cares. But this is the face of a scorned, jaded, evil person. Would you take your chance with this? Would you call up this woman and say, you know what? I know you've been through a lot. I want to try and help you in this situation because I think you're a great person. And then you come in and you find this. Look at this face for a minute. This woman was considered at one time to be a catch, a prize. And now here she is. If this doesn't make you extremely terrified about relationships and about the individuals that you have the opportunity to engage with that may have history beyond you, that may have caused these individuals to get to this point, this is a lesson in that. Know the person that you're talking to, know the person that you're getting involved with, and don't just jump at the chance because they're young, pretty, and are good in the bedroom. All right, here we go. Let's finish it up. This is going to be quite the ending here.
From.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He
And
says
I
he
believe that.
never hit you.
He can't-
Never. Is
yeah.
that a lie?
Yes, it is.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you instigate physical violence?
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and support the person they depend on.
Did they all come in and lie in court?
I am not here
You
to
depended
call
on
any
him.
of his witnesses any names. I'm here to just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as a person who sat there.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was, because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. There's so much, I have so much regret. I freely and openly and
Look at her
voluntarily
face.
talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, you know, right and wrong. I will always
Because your mental state.
continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful. It was very, very toxic. We were awful to each other. You know, I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. But I've always told the truth.
Right. All right. Let's jump into this next part here.
There's a text message where Johnny promises total global humiliation for you. Do you feel like that came true?
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to laugh. But this is such bad acting.
I know he promised it. I testified to this. I'm not a good victim, I get it. I'm not a likable victim. I'm not a perfect victim. But
You try to
I
be.
When I testified, I asked the jury to just see me as human and hear his own words, which is a promise to do this. It feels as though he has.
Amber Heard reflecting on the ripple effects of her tumultuous trial with Johnny Depp.
Having been found liable, are you nervous, as we are here today, about what you can say now?
Of course. I took for granted what I assumed was my right to speak.
Do you feel like you could be sued again by him for defamation?
I'm scared that no matter what I do, no matter what I say or how I say it,
You should be.
every step that I take will present another opportunity for this sort of silencing, which is what I guess a defamation lawsuit is meant to do. It's meant to take your voice.
Yeah. Look at that smirk, ladies and gentlemen. You're not being silenced. You have told your version of truth, which is, in my opinion, lies, on the stand, in the courtroom, on social media, and you're doing interviews. How many interviews have you seen Johnny Depp come running in to do since the trial? Hell, even at the verdict reading, he knew he was going to win. And he just decided, you know what? I'm going on tour. I'm going to have fun. I'm going on tour with my friend Jeff Beck, and we're going to put on an amazing show, which they did. Look, Johnny Depp's not the greatest musician in the world, but he's really good. And he just, I know for him, when I see in him, a lot of people see in themselves, I see in me as well, because he's been dealing with his demons and with his mental problems and emotional problems through music and art. A lot of people who are thrown into trauma and have experienced trauma will find other outlets to try and relieve that stress and that hurt. And I think that's what Johnny Depp's doing. That's why he's doing the music thing. That's why he's doing the art thing, is because he's just so full of pent up hurt and emotion that he needs to release that. That's how he does it. She does it. She deals with all of this by PR. She deals with all of this by getting in front of the camera and looking pretty and trying to convince everyone that she's the victim. That's how she deals with her hurt. Now, which one looks like the perpetrator and which one looks like the victim? Still to this day. Let's continue on.
But Amber is still speaking, just days after a jury stunned many and found the actress defamed Depp in an
Still
op-ed
speaking.
where she said she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. The piece,
that
which
she
never
committed.
mentioned Depp by name, was published 2 years after the couple announced they had settled their divorce.
Life had seemingly moved on, and you decide to write an op-ed. Why did you do that?
Because the op-ed wasn't about my relationship with Johnny.
But it alluded to him. It was unmistakable.
What the op-ed was about was, me loaning my voice to a bigger cultural conversation that we were having at the time.
Did you worry? Gosh,
Bullshit.
I'd love to be a person weighing in on these cultural issues, but that's going to stir this all up again.
I obviously knew it was important for me not to make it about him or to do anything like defame him. I had lawyers, teams of lawyers, review
You were
all
paying.
the drafts of this.
When you wrote this op-ed, it was the height of Me Too. Legions of powerful men being canceled, losing their jobs. Did you want that to happen to Johnny Depp?
Of
Yep.
course not. Of course not. It wasn't about him.
But the op-ed and the
Fucking
abuse
give me a
alleged was at
break.
the heart of the 6-week trial.
Just pulls his arm back with the phone and throws it at my face. Hit me right in it felt like my eye.
Heard testified that the final straw came after a violent fight in May 2016. 6 days later, she filed for a restraining order, cameras capturing her as she left the courthouse.
The fuck
But
is
Depp's
that?
lawyers convinced the jury Heard was lying about the abuse. Police who responded to the
It's not even a
2016
bruise.
incident testified during the trial that they didn't see any injuries and that Heard declined to file charges.
This was a hoax, is according to his team. Why didn't I cooperate with the police? As I've testified before, and I will stand by until my dying day, I
course
didn't
you
want
will.
to cooperate with them. I didn't want this to be out. I didn't want this to be known. I didn't want to cooperate with them because I didn't want this to be, I didn't want to get him in trouble. If it was a hoax, I could have done that.
But 5 days later, you went to court and it came out.
5 days later, I made the decision to stand up for myself and protect myself. You can't get a restraining order in private, which of course I didn't
you.
understand the night when the cops were called.
An employee of TMZ testified at court and said that TMZ was tipped off about when you were going to be going to the courthouse and on what side of your face bruises would be apparent. Did you
Nice
tip off
makeup
TMZ?
job.
I was gonna say, he certainly didn't get tipped off by me or
Did
anyone in my...
anyone you know tip off TMZ?
Why would they? No.
You asked no one to do that.
As I testified to before,
But yet we heard the testimony in the trial. Morgan Tremaine, I think that's his name, from TMZ, had the opportunity. He got called by Johnny Depp's team, and he could possibly face a lawsuit against him for coming out and disclosing this information. But he came out and he pretty much, not in so many, well, in so many words, he pointed the finger that Miss Heard was the one that provided that videotape and the information to TMZ. So, direct source is what he said. All right, let's go right ahead and finish this up.
it had nothing to do with me.
There are different incidents that you testified to, and the Depp legal team would put up pictures of you publicly
look at that.
right after that or in the days following and saying that why are there no bruises?
Again, it's that thing. If you have bruising, if you have injuries, it's fake. If you don't have any, then you weren't injured.
You
No.
had promised to donate
no,
$7 million of your
no.
divorce.
If you have fucking evidence like Rihanna, how many people questioned those pictures? No one. Because it was evident that she had the shit beat out of her. Like you're claiming happened to you. And you have no pictures? You have no evidence? You have no hospital visits, doctor visits for any injuries that you had from Johnny. And you're telling us that if there was evidence, if there was pictures of bruises, people would question you and blah, blah, blah. How did we get to this point in our lives, in our society? All right, let's just continue on because this video is getting really long. Let's continue on.
Settlement to charity. It was revealed at trial that you haven't done so yet. However, they played a tape where you stayed on the air that you have donated it. Do you think that raised questions as to your credibility with the jury?
I made a pledge, and that pledge
How did I guess?
is made over time by its nature.
When you
And
say I donated, You know that everybody thinks that you've donated it, not that you've pledged it.
Yeah.
So for the jurors sitting there, do you think they felt like that was you getting caught in a lie?
I don't know, because I feel like so much of the trial was meant to cast aspersions on who I am as a human, my credibility, to call me a liar in every way you can. And
That
more.
was the trial. It was a credibility contest.
And
That was it.
Boom.
This is another one of the examples where if you pull back and you think about it, I shouldn't have to have donated it in an effort to be believed. I shouldn't have had to earmark the entirety of that in order to
Yeah, you
have.
should.
You shouldn't have, but once you said you did.
Right, which is where it was intended to go.
Heard says she still plans to honor that pledge.
How do you see your future now?
I get to be a mom, like full time,
scary.
you know, where I'm not having to juggle
That poor kid.
calls with lawyers.
One day you may want to tell your daughter about this or have to tell your daughter about everything that you've gone through. What would you want to say?
I think
I want to know how
no
a
matter
mother,
what.
Hold on. I want to know how a mother, a new mother of a young child, can sit up here and do the things that she's doing. I understand right now she's in a tailspin and she's trying to save face because she wants, or maybe she's not thinking. Is she thinking about it? About what her child is going to think of her when she goes back and watches all of these videos about her own mother. Whenever, I'm sure, in her child's eyes, for a majority of her life, she's going to look up to her mom. And she's going to say, my mom is the greatest person in the world. And then someone's going to pull out their phone or computer and say, oh, yeah, look at this. How do you feel about your mom now? I don't know if she even thinks about that. I don't know if narcissistic individuals think that way. I know in my own personal experience, there's a time maybe when their mortality is in question, or whether they're starting to lose people around them, that they may take a look in the mirror and say, oh, why did I do that? But they will say that to themselves. They will never project that out and admit that they were wrong to anyone. There's been an instance where I've had that occur, where someone has treated me bad and then they come back and tell me how bad they feel about it and about how wrong they were. And then the narcissistic or the I'm a woman and strong comes into play again by probably talking to family or friends. And then they come back and say, no, I never said that. It happens. And I think that might be where she's at. Let's continue on here.
It will mean something. I did the right thing. I
By lying?
did everything I could to stand up for myself and the truth.
Heard and Depp's volatile relationship lasted just 4 years. Depp confirming his engagement to me on Today in 2014.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you
Look
excited?
how much
Yeah,
different
right.
he looks there. He looks
She's
happy
a wonderful
there.
girl. She's sharp as a tack. Wonderful. Southern belle.
Now, I know years and stress can cause individuals to their appearance to change significantly, and you can definitely tell by him. This was, what they say, 4 years ago? Who cares? 4 to 10 years ago. This is what Johnny Depp looked like. He looked like a fairly happy, healthy looking young man. And if you look at his photos now, he doesn't look as bright and chipper as he used to. Almost looks like he's been through a lot. For instance, for me, if you look at me now, if you go back and you look at pictures of me 4 or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I know I've gotten older, but you can definitely tell the difference. A lot of people have told me I look sickly. I look like, I don't look like I'm in the best health. And, well, yeah, when you've been through some of the things that I've been through, it takes a toll on you. It really does. Stress, anxiety, hurt, sleep deprivation, all these things. And a lot of people can say that it's because of the drugs and alcohol that's really taken a toll on Johnny. And that's possible too. That's definitely a contributing factor with him. But just going through the things that this man has been through in the past decade, anyone would be looking a little rough, a little out of it. All right, let's continue on.
And sweet as can be, and
Sweet
very good for
Southern
me.
Belle.
On the first day of the trial, you issued a statement, and part of the statement said, "I still have love for Johnny."
Yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
After everything?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love him.
What? This was the bombshell for me. This is the one thing that made me realize that this happens to so many exes. Okay? This is almost as frightening as when a perpetrator that has killed an individual can look in the camera and say that they loved that person deeply. It's definitely a mental issue, emotional issue. She's obsessed with Johnny. She does not want to let him go. And she thinks that breaking him down and making him lose everything that he has ever worked for will make him crawl back to her. I'm not going to get into details. I noticed Joe Simpson, you typed I don't know what that means, but hi, how you doing? And not going to go into complete details for respect for the other party, but I've had this exact response from other individuals that I've had relations with in the past. They come back and they say they still love you, and then they say they don't, and that it's completely mind-blowing. But anyways, we're getting ready to wrap this up. Let's go ahead and listen to that a little bit again, and then we'll finish up.
Is that still true?
Yes.
After everything?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love him. I loved him with all my heart. And I tried the best I could to make a deeply broken relationship work. And I couldn't.
All right. So there we have it. So I'm just going to bring up some pics here. Okay, let's see. For one, I'm trying to get some that are kind of close to before he met Amber and after. Well, here's one during the trial. Right here. This is him probably, I would say, in the honeymoon phase where he was having a great relationship with Miss Heard. Right here. You can go between these two photos. And you can tell, look at this one. This is when, I think, when his drug addiction was really taking a toll on him, as well as his marriage. Right here. This is a sign, look at his eyes. This is a sign of an individual that is just hurting so deeply from so many different avenues, so many different things. He obviously had some dental work done, if that's true. I mean, he looks better now, but still, comparing this to when he was in a relationship with Miss Heard gives you a lot of looks at what stress and an individual that is in the thralls of hurt can change their look so much, so drastically. Right? So there you go. I believe that's it for the video. I just wanted to kind of do this video because I think it's very important for people to understand just what a toll things like this can take on your life. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And I'm sure there's going to be more interviews released, possibly tomorrow. If so, I'll react to that. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Fraser Show, Emerald Dragon Gaming as well, I guess. And